Hello guys and welcome to a new Wargame video today by me Vulcan. Today we're looking at the NATO support unit. I may go on to the vehicle units as well, but first of all I'd like to say I'm sorry for the mic quality if it seems bad. It's because I'm not using my normal thing for recording because I don't have internet at the moment and I can't get it onto my PC. The other things I wanted to say though is that I literally don't have internet at the moment on my recording PC, and that's because I'm actually moving. I did put a comment on one of my other videos trying to tell you guys, but if you didn't see that and this is the first time you've heard about it, then that's why I won't be producing many videos this week. Basically, I won't be able to get online to record stuff like DayZ, War Thunder, World of Tanks, so those videos will be going to miss until about Monday next week. So it's basically like one of each video will be going missing this week. So sorry about that guys, but I will be able to do single player games. So what I'm going to do is I might do some sort of single player playthroughs of random games, just having a look at the single player. And yeah, I can, but the thing is I can bring you wargame videos because I can get onto Steam offline, so I can still bring you the tutorials, although I can't play against other people, so obviously I won't be bringing you a replay. But what I'm going to do next Monday instead is bring you a packed deck tutorial, so hopefully you guys who want pack tutorials can look forward to that. But anyway, there's a couple of other things. While I was bored, I just wanted to mention, because I'm quite chuffed, I spent literally about 8 hours straight sitting down playing Dead Space 2 and managed to complete that. So if I feel like it and you guys want it, I might bring Dead Space 3 to my channel, but I doubt it because I'm likely to get it on PC, but I'm not sure if I'll play it for my channel. Basically because I don't do Let's Plays, although I have before, they've never been great, so it's up to you guys if you want that or not. The comment replies, I do intend to try and reply to comments at some point, but the trouble is at the moment, obviously without having internet access, I can't do that on a regular basis, so please bear with me there. That's about it really. Yeah, so no videos really for a week or so, unless they're different single player games, but please hang on, and all of my DayZ stuff and that lot will be up sometime next week when I get my internet back, so you just have to wait for that. Anyway, for now I'm going to go through the NATO units and we're going to go through the NATO support. So let's go down to support underneath infantry, and we're going to start off with the AMX Alpha 1. Now this is deemed to be the most powerful long-range artillery on the NATO deck. It has a range of 23,000 meters, or 24,000 meters even, roughly, and an accuracy of 10, which is obviously the best you can get, and a HE power of 5, which is very powerful. The only way you can get it more powerful is if you go for the British howitzers, and well, I think I'm not sure if they do. The Americans have them as well. But anyway, AMX Alpha 1 deemed to be one of the most powerful long-range artilleries. It's got a decent speed, some armor, has a defensive main gun with an AP power of 7, which can keep itself protected against light vehicles, and HMG to help it against random infantry that may come and attack it. Trouble is it has no HE power, so it can't fire its main gun at infantry, so don't rely on it for that. You'll probably just have to run away. What else is there? You got the operational range, doesn't really need that. Depends where you're going to put it and how you're going to use it. If you want to take advantage of this accuracy, you can move these artillery pieces actually quite close to the enemy, and you'll have like pinpoint accuracy, no joke. Whereas if you keep it, say, at your base from the beginning, you're going to have like a reasonable size area of effect, so bear that in mind. Now we're moving on to the AMX-30 Roland. This is the first anti-air that we're going to be looking at today. The AMX-30 Roland is one of the best anti-air units for supporting pushes, rushes, all sorts of stuff like that, because it can keep up. It's got that speed that you really need. Also it has SAM missiles, which are very, very accurate. I would never recommend getting the first variant though. The first variant only has an accuracy of 8 and a HE power of 4. That HE power of 4 is very, very important. Basically, HE power of 4 is bad compared to a HE power of 5 if you upgrade it. That's because most low tier helicopters have at least 5 health. So if you can do all of that in one shot, then you're going to be a lot more effective than if you have to take 2 shots just because you got 1 less HE power. So you may do 4 bars of damage, but they can still shoot at you, so they may get an ATGM off or whatever else, and that can really be a massive, or really have a massive effect on the tide of the battle. But for Rolands, AMX-30 Rolands in general, you'll always want to go for the Marder Roland 2s, and yes, they're the most expensive, but this armour will save your ass so many times. They're also much faster, so they're really, really good support for tanks like Abrams and Leopards. They are amazing for keeping them covered. Rushes, you may take a few of them, like 1, 2 or 3, it's really up to you. But this HE power, this accuracy with this armour is incredible for an anti-air unit. So this is probably, I would say, the best anti-air for the NATO side. However, there are the Chaparrals, which are also very, very good, but I'll come to them eventually. Now you can vet these. I didn't really go over vetting in the other few tutorials because I felt that it was hard enough to really portray the damage and stuff that they would do, and if you do vetting, it makes them more accurate and stuff, and it gets confusing. But basically, for anti-air missiles, you want to make them more accurate by vetting them. So for a Marder Roland 2, you might vet them twice, and I wouldn't recommend doing it much more than that because you're just going to end up paying a bomb. But yeah, you can vet these a couple of times to make sure they hit accurately, because the accuracy of 10 with a couple more vet is very, very, very powerful. Because an accuracy of 10, don't forget, is basically an accuracy of 50% at max range, so it's 50% likely to hit. I think with each vet, it adds 10% on a 10 accuracy unit, so that would be a 70% chance to hit with if you had 2 vet. I think that's it. Don't quote me, but I think that's it. Anyway, moving on to the Flak Panzers. These are the first anti-air you actually unlock in the game. They're crap. Don't rely on them. You can go for these Flak Panzer Gepards. The reason a lot of people take these is because they look at this and say, oh look, I've got that unlocked, now I'm going to unlock the next 2 variants, and they're better because look, they have better accuracy and so on. But honestly, they're not great. Yeah, okay, their range is okay for auto cannons, and they can kind of keep up with rushes, but nothing beats missile AA. Unless you want them to support ground targets. The only reason you would ever take these is if you also had missile units, because you can't do without missile AA. It's honestly, it will lose you the game nearly every time. Anyway, moving on to the next unit, we have the FV433 Abbott. This is probably my favourite NATO support unit, purely because it's British, but also not just because it's British, but because it really suits one of my playstyles. In one of my other videos, you may have seen me use these to great effect, where I had almost 8 of them in the battle, but they're assault guns, and the idea of assault guns is that you have them reasonably close to the enemy. So this accuracy, although you get less HE power with the Abbotts, the accuracy is really what counts for these ones. You keep them within, say, 2 kilometers of the enemy, and you're going to be laughing because they are so accurate. With such concentrated fire with like 4 Abbotts is insane, and it can do a serious amount of damage, and as long as you keep them behind your front line, you can really hurt the enemy badly. Also, if any other armoured vehicles get close, you can also use them to defend themselves with the accuracy of 3 and HE power of, or AP power of 4. No HE power though, so be careful of infantry ambushing them. Now their speed isn't great, but their fuel capacity is amazing, so they can get very, very far. And they don't take much fuel from supply vehicles to keep going. So if you had a couple of supply vehicles with them, just to keep them reloaded and refueled, they will get a very, very long way, because, well, they can keep up with your forces, and that's all you really need for the abbots. They just need to be a little bit behind your front line, and they can really do a serious amount of damage. They are, as I say, probably one of my favourite NATO support units. Now we're moving on to the M109. These are also some early artillery. I think people often unlock these. I think they're a suggested unit when you play single player, and they're okay, but as you can see, they've got an accuracy of 4 and an HE power of 5, so that's like the opposite to the Abbot. And I've tried both of these. The Abbot fires really, really fast. Its L13A1 howitzer is really, really powerful. However, this M126 howitzer is not so great. It seems to take ages to fire. Like, when you aim, it seems to take ages to aim. The Abbot reloads really fast and aims really fast, whereas this M109 is not great for that. But the accuracy really does affect this unit. It's like the difference between accuracy 4 and accuracy 5 on Arty is insane. Like, it honestly, I would say, makes the size of the circle, like the area of effect, like almost quarter of a times larger, and that's a lot for an artillery spread. So you gotta be wary of that if you wanting to use these units. However, what are good with these units is that if you upgrade them to the M109A2s, you do get that extra accuracy, which you can use at long range, and they're very cheap. So if you want to keep them at your base and fire over a long distance, if you have 4 of these for 220 rather than a couple of AMX Alpha 1s, you can really, really do some damage. Also, the third upgrade is even better. It's very, very similar to the AMX Alpha 1, but the reason people like the AMX Alpha 1 is because it can take care of itself, and this front armor of +1 can keep it alive longer than the Paladins, which with only a front armor of 1. So yes, they have the same speed and everything else pretty much, but the only trouble is this armor is often worth paying for on these units. Now moving on to the M1101 or M110 and M110A2. Basically, I'm going to talk about these and the British versions exactly the same, because the only difference is that they have different camos and they're of a different nationality, but they're basically exactly the same. So anyway, the first one, we got a HE power of 7. This is what makes people favour howitzers occasionally over something like over other things. With an accuracy of 4, it's not amazing, but this HE power of 7 is really, really worth thinking about. The spread from the damage of a HE power of 7 is insane, and if you get a direct hit, it can do an incredible amount of damage to any light units. Tanks maybe not so much, but say if there's a couple of chaparrals and you land a howitzer shot right in the middle of it, honestly, I think you can kill both of them with howitzers. That is very, very powerful. This accuracy of 4 though often means that you have to have them quite close to your front lines, and they're not very fast and they can't get away very quickly, so you have to be very, very careful with your placement of these. The next upgrade though has an accuracy of 6, which is a couple more. So I would always recommend, if you're going to bring in these units, pay the extra 5, get the 2 extra accuracy, the extra range of 4,000 meters almost, and you're going to be laughing. But what you must consider with howitzers is that they really, really need supply vehicles with them if they're not by a FOB, because they only carry 8 rounds. Please, please don't forget that, because a couple of times I've actually seen people use howitzers and then forget to resupply them. And it's quite a noob's mistake, and obviously it doesn't happen very often, but I have seen it. So don't do that, because it's a bit stupid, and it will leave you crying in your hands as you just face palm the desk, and it's just, yeah, never gonna end well. But like I say, be careful with the placement. The 20,000 meter range isn't as long as you'd think, and at max range this is not going to be very accurate at all, so you want to keep them reasonably close to the enemy, not half as close as the abbots, but reasonably close, so that they can be very effective concentrated fire. Now moving on to the next one, we have the M12-5A1. These are the mortars, the overpowered mortars from the NATO side. The NATO side has mortars, whereas the Pact side doesn't. And it's often something the Pact players really complain about. Each mortar doesn't cost very much at all. The first mortar costs 20, and they have an accuracy of 3 and HE power of 3, but because of their short range, this accuracy isn't that greatly affected. It just, if you get them within range, they can provide very solid, accurate fire, and the accuracy doesn't seem to matter. Their ammo basically means that they never run out, and if they do, then all you need is a little supply vehicle to go and pick them up again. But what you must be careful of is this 40 km/h speed. They get caught out by infantry so easily in APCs, so be careful of that. They only have a M2 Browning to protect themselves with, so make sure they're protected. Make sure they have maybe AA, because they're going to get destroyed with only one front armor. Also, with mortars, be really careful for counter artillery. Honestly, that's going to catch you out more than anything else. Now, the upgraded variants basically come with an extra accuracy and extra HE power. I'm not sure if it's really worth the 15 extra points, but if you do need that extra accuracy and HE power, I would go for the second variant, which costs 45, because you've got that extra speed, allows you to get them out of the way of the counter artillery, and also allows you to run away from infantry, some light vehicles, and it will basically generally keep them safer because of that speed. The accuracy and HE power obviously always helps, but paying 10 more for that speed is really honestly going to save your ass. Now moving on to the Vulcans, of course. Now I'm actually named after, if you want to know how I've got my name, everyone's like, oh my god, you like Star Trek. No, that's not the case. Vulcan is a military term. I always liked it as a military term. For the Vulcan bomber, the Vulcan minigun, that's what this vehicle is named after, the minigun that's mounted on it. The Vulcan, I think, was actually built around it. But anyway, yeah, but mine is actually none of that. The secret to my name is that I'm named after a boat, and it's just a random boat. Saw it one day, thought that's a cool name, took that. And that's where Vulcan Spirit came from, and then I just shortened it to Vulcan because everyone called me Vulcan. So, yeah, but I like to think of it as a military term for the Vulcan minigun and the Vulcan bomber, because they're just cool. And I've seen the Vulcan bomber a few times, but yeah, let's get back on the subject. Vulcan's anti-air units. Now, I have done a video of these before, and I do enjoy using them because they are hilarious. They absolutely rape air units if they're close enough to be shot at. Their range suffers terribly. They only have 1,750 meter range, so what these are really good for is basically ambushing helicopters by keeping them in forests. And if you go for the fastest one, the Pivads, they have a Gatling cannon with an accuracy of 8. And honestly, that is crazy for a Gatling cannon. And you'll basically almost instantly hit the enemy helicopters within range, and you can probably just about keep up with them for a short amount of time with the 60 km/h speed, and you can really catch out a lot of air units. So that's what these are really good for ambushing enemy units, and also base defense. They're quite good for base defense as well. If you've got your command armor in a forest, spread a few Vulcans around it and they'll keep it safe. Also, they can be very, very good with the Gatling cannon. They can be very good at suppressing enemy tanks. I actually had a battle once where my Vulcan continuously fired at T-72 and kept it stunned literally until it ran out of ammo. And that honestly was like 5 minutes. And I was like, holy crap, because my Vulcan was being resupplied by this random supply truck, which I forgot was next to it. So I just like wasted a whole hemp's worth of supply ammo to a Vulcan that was purely stunning a T-72 at like max range, and was slowly doing damage. It only took away like 2 bars in the end, but it was quite funny. Anyway, the Vulcans, very good for stunning tanks, very good for killing aircraft, very good for stunning anything really, and destroying infantry on open ground. They can be very good at that as well. So they can be used to basically suppress units, but I would say their main role is really to ambush those air units within forests. So if anyone's stupid enough to fly over your forest while you've got Vulcans on your deck, well, they're fucked. Now, moving on to the MLRS. A very controversial unit. Not many people like it, and I know why. This accuracy is not good enough for its range. Its range is 42,000 meters. I think it's the longest range of anything on the NATO deck or NATO armory. I think there's nothing that fires further than it, and a lot of people tend to use it at almost max range. They sit it in their base and they keep it well defended, and then they like spray shit from miles away. And that's not. I don't know. It doesn't seem that that's how that unit should be used to be most effective. I've really found when experimenting with MLRSs that when you bring them close to the enemy, almost like Buratinos, they can do so much damage. Like seriously, their rockets are extremely powerful. The HE power of 5 rockets is insane. They if they hit something, it will die pretty much, other than a tank. Any light vehicle, any command vehicle, pretty much if a missile lands on it, it will blow up. It's that powerful. If you get them close to the enemy, so that the circle of area of effect is very, very small, you can do serious concentrated arty, and it is very, very powerful for that. However, if you keep it at max range, it's almost the worst arty in the game. And that's what a lot of people do wrong with this vehicle. They really they use it at max range too often, and it just spreads the missiles everywhere, and then it doesn't hit anything, and it's not very effective. Even with corrected shot, it's just not effective enough to be viable. And if you look at its cost, 125, the cost, you've got to kill a lot to make it worth having in. So keeping it as close arty support can really turn the tide of a close rush or battle or something like that. Say if you've got 2 rushes hitting each other because you've both chosen a rush strategy, you and your enemy, and you clash in the middle, and you've got an MLRS sitting at the back and you pound the crap out of it at really close range, honestly you will just dominate that game. If you, for instance, have a tank battle and you've got like a couple of Leopards and they're rushing loads of T-72s or T-34-85s at you or whatever, and you just pound them with MLRS at really close range, like your MLRS is pretty much got to be like, I think there's a minimum range for the MLRS, so be careful with that, but at its shortest range it can do serious amounts of damage. So don't underestimate this vehicle at close range. Don't just keep it at your base because you're too scared to get it killed. Just defend it well and you'll be fine. Just watch out for people, because obviously when somebody sees an MLRS, they're going to be like, oh, I want to kill that because it gets so many points, because it's a well-known unit, and you're gonna get it. People are gonna try and kill it. So make sure, as long as you got it defended well by chaparrals, then you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Okay, well, anyway, moving on to chaparrals while we're here. Chaparrals are the long-range RT equivalent to the, or long-range AA equivalent to the books on the pack side. These are incredibly good AA units, but there is one thing wrong with them: their accuracy. You can see both variants only have 4 and 3 accuracy. The best variant has the best range, and I would always recommend getting the best version of it. Always get the best version. Their speed isn't great, but keep them supported by I don't know, a couple of infantry and supply vehicles, because they only carry 4 missiles, don't forget. The Marder Roland 2s carry 10 missiles, so they also need supply vehicles, but not as often. But the chaparrals, they fire their 4 missiles all in one barrage, so they fire 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, almost like that, and then they reload them all, and then they do that again, and that's how they work. Their accuracy is terrible though, so make sure you vet them. A lot of people would recommend that you vet them 4 or 5, and that's definitely the right thing to do. I honestly, personally, only vet 4, because if you pay for 5, then you can't get anything out of the unit in terms of upgrade. So I'd much rather go upgrade 4 for veterancy 4, and then let the chaparrals get the kills, and then get the vet 5 themselves. That's what I tend to go for, just so I feel like I'm actually doing something well with them. I think at max vet they're about 60 each, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. If somebody could verify that in the comments, that'd be great. But yeah, speed of 40 kilometers per hour. So make sure you don't get them caught out, because they can be killed very quickly. They don't have any armor. People may rush you with helicopters with them, so this is when you need like maybe some flak panzers supporting it, but I would never recommend that. Just something else supporting it to stop it from getting killed really easily. But yeah, just make sure it's resupplied, make sure you got the veterancy, and you'll be laughing, because it can almost one-shot some really good air units on the pack side. So yeah, watch out for that. I think it's 2-shot for Havocs, but everything else I think is 1-shot, so it's awesome. Now moving on to the last unit. This is basically just a German variant of the M109. So I'm basically just take what I said from the M109 and add 1 accuracy. That's pretty much it. It's honestly a good unit. I do quite like this unit because it's similar. If you use it in a similar role to the Abbott, it can be very effective. It's just that the Abbott's main gun ability, the ability to use its assault gun to actually attack other units, is very, very useful compared to this one, which is just a howitzer which can't fire at other units. So be wary of that. But the extra accuracy is a lot more worth getting than the first variant of the M109. But the reason people take M109s is because they can upgrade to be the M109A2 and the M109A6, which is the Paladin. So yeah, that's my overview of the support units for the NATO side. I hope you guys have enjoyed this and found it useful. Please remember what I said at the beginning of the video. I may not be bringing any DayZ for a while, so please don't cry too much. I'll try and get stuff out. I'll see what I can do about the internet, but honestly I can't make any promises, so I'm not sure I'll be able to comment as much. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to reply, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll probably just log on uni or something and try and reply to some of your comments while I've got free time, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so next Monday should be up and running again, but don't take my word for it, because things have a tendency to go wrong at the moment. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.